Kang Taehan walked down the long metal corridor of Station Harmony. His boots made soft sounds on the floor. He had been working here for 2 years now, checking the security systems and making sure everything stayed safe. It was usually boring work. Most days, nothing happened at all. Today felt different though. Taehan could not explain why, but something in his gut told him to pay attention. He touched a small communication device on his ear and listened to the chatter from other security officers. Everything sounded normal. Delegates from 3 different alien species were visiting today to talk about some treaty. Important people walking around, surrounded by guards. Taehan stopped near a window and looked out at the stars. Earth was far away from here. Sometimes he missed home, missed the smell of rain and his mother's cooking. But this job paid well, and someone had to represent humanity out here among the aliens. Most species still thought humans were too young, too violent, too primitive. Taehan wanted to prove them wrong. A soft beeping sound caught his attention. He looked down at his scanner. Energy readings were jumping around near the diplomatic wing. That was strange. The levels kept rising, getting higher and higher. Taehan's heart started beating faster. This was not normal at all. He started running toward the diplomatic wing. His training kicked in automatically. When something felt wrong, you did not wait to check. You moved fast. His legs pumped hard as he rushed down the corridor. Other people looked at him strangely, but he did not care. The beeping got louder and more urgent. The energy readings were now flashing red on his scanner. Taehan turned a corner and saw them. A group of tall, elegant beings with pale blue skin were walking down the hallway. Their clothes looked expensive, covered in jewels and flowing fabric. Guards surrounded them, but the guards looked relaxed. They did not see the danger. Taehan's scanner screamed a warning. His eyes went wide. A small device was attached to the wall panel, almost invisible. It was going to explode. Right now. Right here. There was no time to shout a warning. No time to think. Taehan just moved. His body acted before his brain could catch up. He ran straight at the group and focused on the figure in the center. Someone wearing deep purple robes with a hood covering their face. The most important one, he guessed. Time seemed to slow down. Taehan crashed into the robed figure, wrapping his arms around them. He twisted his body and threw both of them toward the side corridor, away from the device. Behind him, he heard shouting. The guards finally realized something was wrong. Then the world exploded. The blast hit Taehan from behind like a giant fist. Heat and force slammed into his back. He felt something sharp cut into his shoulder and leg. Pain rushed through his body, but he held tight to the person under him. He had to protect them. That was all that mattered right now. They hit the ground hard. Taehan's vision went blurry. Smoke filled the air. Alarms started screaming throughout the station. He could hear people yelling in different languages. Some sounds were human. Some were alien. Everything mixed together in a confusing mess. Taehan tried to move, but his body would not listen. The pain was getting worse. He felt warm blood running down his back. Not good. That was definitely not good. He blinked and tried to focus. The person beneath him was moving. They were alive. Good. He had done his job. The hood had fallen away during their fall. Taehan found himself staring into a face that was beautiful and alien at the same time. Pale blue skin that seemed to glow slightly. Silver hair that floated around her head like it was underwater. And eyes. Purple eyes that looked at him with shock and something else. Wonder, maybe. She was young, probably his age or close to it. And clearly very important based on her clothes and the jewelry she wore. Maybe a princess or something. Taehan's tired brain tried to figure it out, but thinking was becoming hard. The woman spoke. Her voice sounded like music, high and clear. But Taehan could not understand the words. Not his language. He tried to smile, tried to tell her she was safe now. His mouth moved, but no sound came out. More aliens rushed toward them. Guards with weapons. Others in white clothes, probably doctors. They were all shouting. Someone pulled Taehan off the princess. He groaned as pain shot through his entire body. His vision was getting darker around the edges. The princess grabbed his hand. Her skin felt cool and smooth. She kept talking in that musical language, her voice urgent and worried. Taehan saw her purple eyes one more time. They were the last thing he saw before the darkness took him completely. He did not hear her command the healers to save him no matter what. He did not hear the declaration she made that this human was now under her personal protection. He did not know that his simple act of bravery had just changed everything between humans and the Varan Empire. Taehan only knew darkness and pain. And somewhere deep in that darkness, he wondered if he would ever wake up again. Taehan woke up slowly. Everything felt soft and warm. That was his first thought. The second thought was that he should be dead. He remembered the explosion, the pain, the blood. People did not usually survive things like that. He tried to open his eyes, but the light was too bright. He groaned and turned his head to the side. Someone gasped nearby. Then many voices started talking all at once. None of them sounded human. None of them spoke any language Taehan knew. Easy now. Do not move too quickly. This voice spoke Korean, but with a strange accent. Like someone who had learned it from a computer. Taehan forced his eyes open and immediately regretted it. He was lying in the biggest bed he had ever seen. The room around him looked like something from a dream. The walls glowed with soft blue and green light. Plants that he did not recognize grew from the ceiling, hanging down like beautiful curtains. Everything curved and flowed together. Nothing had sharp corners or straight lines, and there were aliens everywhere. Dozens of them, all staring at him. They all had the same pale blue skin and silver hair. Their eyes were different colors, though. Purple, green, gold, silver. They wore fancy robes in many colors. Some had jewelry that floated around their heads without touching them. It was the most surreal thing Taehan had ever seen. "Where am I?" he managed to say. His throat felt dry and rough. "You are on Varan Prime, the homeworld of the Varan Empire." The voice came from beside his bed. Taehan turned and saw her. The princess he had saved. She looked even more beautiful now, wearing white robes that seemed to be made of light itself. "My name is Princess Nyla. You saved my life on Station Harmony." Taehan tried to sit up. Pain shot through his back, and he gasped. Several aliens rushed forward, but Nyla held up her hand, and they stopped. "You were badly injured," she said. Her purple eyes looked worried. "The doctor said you should have died. The shrapnel damaged your spine and punctured your lung. You lost much blood. But somehow, your body is healing. Much faster than our medical knowledge said was possible for humans." "How long?" Taehan asked. 6 days. "You have been unconscious for 6 days. Nyla paused. "We brought you here to our world because of our laws. When someone saves a member of the royal family, a life debt is created. We must honor that debt. But bringing a human here has never been done before." Taehan looked around at all the watching faces. Most looked curious. Some looked friendly. A few looked angry or disgusted. He suddenly felt very small and very far from home. An older Varan stepped forward. His robes were dark blue and covered in symbols. His silver eyes looked cold as they studied Taehan. "I am Chief Advisor Vex," he said through the translator device. "I speak for many in this court when I say this situation is highly irregular. Humans are a young species. violent and unpredictable. Having one in our sacred palace is concerning to many. He saved the princess, another voice said. A female Varan with kind green eyes stood up. Would you rather she had died, Vex? This human acted with courage and honor. Our laws are clear. Our laws were written for civilized species, Vex shot back. Not for primitives who barely understand space travel. Taehan felt anger rise in his chest, but he pushed it down. Getting mad would not help. Instead, he looked at Vex and spoke calmly. I did not ask to come here. I did not ask for any debt or honor. I just saw someone in danger and reacted. That is what humans do. We protect those who cannot protect themselves, even if they are strangers. Even if they look down on us. The room went silent. Several Varan looked shocked that he had spoken so directly to Vex, but Nyla smiled slightly. You see? She said to the court. Courage and directness. These are qualities we should admire, not fear. She looked at Taehyun. Our healers tell me you should rest for many more days. But I sense you are the type who does not like lying in bed. Taehyun tried to smile, though it hurt. You sense correctly, Your Highness. Then I will make you an offer. Stay here as my guest while you heal. Learn about our people and our ways. Let us learn about humans from you. When you are fully recovered, we will discuss how to properly honor the life debt. Nyla's eyes became serious. But you should know something. The explosion on the station was not an accident. It was an assassination attempt. Someone wants me dead. Someone wants to stop the peace treaty I am trying to create between 5 different species. As long as this threat exists, I am in danger. Taehyun processed this information. His security training came back to him. You need better protection. Vex snorted. We have the finest guards in the galaxy, trained for centuries in the art of defense. Then why did they not see the bomb? Taehyun asked quietly. Why did a human security officer with basic equipment detect it when all your advanced guards missed it? This created another shocked silence. Vex's face turned a darker shade of blue, which Taehyun guessed meant he was angry. But the advisor said nothing. Nyla stood up. The human makes a good point. We have lived in peace for so long that perhaps we have forgotten how to see threats. Perhaps we need someone who thinks differently. She looked at Taehyun. Rest now. Heal. We will talk more soon. She turned and walked out, her robes flowing behind her. The rest of the court followed, some still whispering and throwing looks at Taehyun. Soon only 2 Varan healers remained, checking his bandages and the strange devices attached to his body. Taehyun lay back in the bed and stared at the glowing ceiling. 6 days ago, he had been a simple security officer. Now he was on an alien world, surrounded by a species that thought humans were primitive, caught up in some assassination plot against royalty. He could not help but laugh a little, even though it hurt. His mother always said he attracted trouble. She had no idea how right she was. 3 weeks had passed since Taehyun woke up in the Varan Palace. His wounds had healed much faster than the Varan doctors expected. They kept studying him, taking samples, asking questions. How could human tissue regenerate so quickly? How did he survive injuries that would kill most species? Taehyun did not have answers. He just knew he felt better, strong enough to walk around, to explore this strange world. The palace was beautiful in a way that made Earth architecture look simple. Gardens floated in the air without any support. Water flowed upward into fountains that hung from nothing. Light came from the walls themselves, changing colors with the time of day dawn. But Taehyun noticed other things too. Things that worried him. The palace guards were tall and graceful, but they moved slowly. They carried weapons that looked deadly, but Taehyun had watched them train. Their combat style was all about distance and technology. They never expected close combat. They never thought about backup plans if their weapons failed. "You look troubled, my friend." The voice made Taehyun turn around. A human woman walked toward him with a friendly smile. She was older than him, maybe in her 40s, with short black hair and laugh lines around her eyes. "I am Park Hae-won, the human diplomat assigned to Varan Prime. I heard we had another human in the palace and had to meet you." Taehyun shook her hand, relieved to speak Korean with someone from Earth. "Kang Taehyun, though I guess you already know that. My name has been all over the palace since I arrived." "Hey," one laughed. "You have no idea. You are the most interesting thing to happen here in decades." "A human saving the princess?" "The court talks about nothing else. Half of them think you are a hero. The other half thinks you are a dangerous primitive who got lucky. And what do you think?" "I think you made my job a lot easier," Ha-won said. She guided him to a bench near one of the floating gardens. "Humans have been trying to gain respect among the galactic community for years. We are always the newcomers, the young species that needs to be supervised. What you did showed them something different. Showed them that humans can be brave, selfless, and quick-thinking." Taehyun looked at his hands. "I just reacted. I did not think about politics or making humans look good." "That is exactly why it matters," Hae-won said gently. "Real courage is not calculated. It just is." She paused. "The princess asked about you this morning. She wants to see you." Taehyun found Princess Nyla in her private garden. She stood among flowers that glowed in the dim light, her silver hair moving in a breeze that did not exist. She turned when he entered and smiled. "Taehyun, you look much better. The healers say you are recovering at an impossible rate." "Humans are stubborn," he said. "We do not like staying down." Nyla gestured for him to walk with her. They moved through the garden slowly. "I have been thinking about what you said, about my guards missing the threat. I spoke with my security chief. He says their systems are perfect, that no one could penetrate our defenses." "With respect, Your Highness, someone already did." "On the station." "Exactly." Nyla stopped and looked at him. "I want you to review our security. Tell me what you see with your human eyes. Tell me what my own people are too comfortable to notice." Over the next week, Taehyun studied everything. He watched the guard rotations. He examined the palace layout. He tested the sensor systems. And he found problems everywhere. The Varan had advanced technology, but they relied on it too much. They trusted their machines and forgot to trust their instincts. Taehyun wrote up a report and presented it to Princess Nyla and her security chief, a stern Varan named Commander Rin. Rin did not look happy. "You suggest we post guards at random intervals?" Rin asked, his voice dripping with disdain. "That is chaos. Our system is mathematical, precise, perfect, and predictable," Taehyun countered. "I have been here less than a month, and I already know exactly when and where your guards will be. Anyone watching could figure it out. Random patterns are harder to predict." "You also suggest close combat training," Rin continued. "We do not need such primitive tactics. Our weapons handle threats from a distance. And if someone gets past your weapons, if they jam your technology or get inside your defensive perimeter." Taehyun leaned forward. "On Earth, we have a saying, hope for the best, but prepare for the worst. You only hope for the best." Nyla raised her hand before Rin could respond. "I want to see a demonstration. Taehyun, show us what you mean by close combat." That is how Taehyun ended up in the training hall with 5 of the best Varan guards. They were all taller than him, stronger, and had better equipment. But Taehyun had been trained by the Earth Defense Corps. He knew how to fight when things got dirty. The first guard came at him carefully, weapon raised. Taehyun moved inside his reach before he could fire, grabbed his arm, and used the guard's own momentum to flip him onto the mat. The second guard tried to compensate, coming in lower. Taehan swept her legs, and she went down hard. The other three attacked together, learning good, but Taehan was faster. He dodged, rolled, struck at weak points. He did not try to overpower them. He just moved better, thought quicker, adapted faster. Within 5 minutes, all 5 guards were on the ground, breathing hard and staring at him in shock. "Humans are smaller than you," Taehan said, helping one of the guards up. "Weaker in some ways, but we adapt. We improvise. We survive. That is our strength." Commander Rin stood slowly, his expression unreadable. Then he did something unexpected. He bowed his head slightly. "I see. Perhaps there is value in your primitive, no, in your practical methods. I would like to learn." Over the following days, Taehan trained a small group of volunteers. He taught them how to fight when technology failed, how to read body language for signs of attack, how to think like an enemy instead of following a programmed response. The Varan learned slowly, but they learned. Princess Nyla watched sometimes. One evening, she approached him after training. "My court is changing their opinion of you. Even Advisor Vex admitted yesterday that you might have value." "That must have hurt him to say," Taehan joked. Nyla laughed, a sound like crystal bells. "Probably. But something is happening, Taehan. Intelligence reports say the peace treaty signing is in 2 weeks. Many species will attend. It is the perfect target for another attack. Then we need to be ready," Taehan said seriously. "Will you stand with me when the time comes?" Nyla asked. "I know you do not have to. The life debt could be considered paid, but I feel safer with you near." Taehan looked at this alien princess who had somehow become a friend. "I will stand with you, Your Highness, until the threat is gone." Nyla smiled, but in her purple eyes, Taehan saw worry. She knew something bad was coming, and deep down so did he. The Grand Assembly Hall was the most impressive room Taehan had ever seen. It stretched upward for what looked like miles, with floating platforms at different levels. Representatives from 5 different alien species gathered here today. The Varan with their pale blue skin, the Caliph with their red scales and fierce eyes, the Tauren who looked like living stone, the May with their transparent wings, and humans represented by Haewon and a few other diplomats. Taehan stood near Princess Nyla, wearing armor that the Varan had made specially for him. It was lighter than anything from Earth, but stronger than steel. He had his old security baton and a Varan energy weapon on his belt. More importantly, he had his instincts, and right now they were screaming at him. Something was wrong. He could feel it in his bones. The energy in the room felt off. Too tense. Too quiet in the wrong places. "You are nervous," Nyla whispered beside him. She wore ceremonial robes today, covered in symbols that told the story of her family line. "Just alert," Taehan replied quietly. Watching. The treaty signing began with speeches. Long, boring speeches in multiple languages. Taehan tried to pay attention, but his eyes kept scanning the room. The guards were in position, including those he had trained. They looked more ready than before. But was it enough? A Caliph representative stood to speak. He was larger than the others, his red scales darker, almost black. His voice boomed through the hall. "We gather to speak of peace. But some of us remember the old ways, the ways of strength and conquest. We remember when the Caliph Empire ruled systems, not begged for treaties." Murmurs went through the crowd. This was not part of the planned speeches. Taehan's hand moved toward his weapon. The Caliph continued. "Peace makes us weak, makes us forget who we are. And so, we reject this treaty. We reject this weakness. He moved his hand and everything went wrong at once. The lights exploded. Taehan reacted instantly, throwing himself at Princess Nyla and pulling her down. Energy blasts filled the air where she had been standing. Screams erupted through the hall. More Caliph appeared from hidden positions, firing weapons at the delegates. Betrayal! Someone shouted. The Caliph planned this. Taehan dragged Nyla behind a pillar. Energy blasts scorched the stone above their heads. He could see Hay-1 and the other humans taking cover, helping alien diplomats to safety. The Varan guards returned fire, but they were scattered, unprepared for such a coordinated attack. We need to get you out, Taehan said to Nyla. No. Her voice was firm despite the fear in her eyes. If I run, the tree dies. Everything dies. I stay. Then we hold this position. Taehan activated his communicator. Commander Rin, report. Main exit's blocked. Rin's voice came back strained. They planned this well. We have heavy resistance at every exit point. Reinforcements are coming, but will take time to break through. Then we make them wish they had brought more soldiers, Taehan muttered. He looked at the hall with a tactical eye. The attackers had numbers and surprise, but they were bunched together, relying on overwhelming firepower. That could be turned against them. Taehan stood and fired his energy weapon at a support column near the enemy position. It exploded, sending debris raining down. The attackers scattered. Good. Divide them. Guards, pattern delta, Taehan shouted. It was one of the tactics he had taught them. Instead of holding defensive positions, they started moving, using the pillars and floating platforms for cover. Fire and move. Never stay still. Make the enemy guess where you would be next. The Caliph attackers started getting frustrated. Their superior numbers meant less when they could not pin down targets. Taehan saw one of his trained guards take down 3 enemies using hand-to-hand combat when they got too close. Pride filled his chest, but there were still too many attackers. And more kept coming. Taehan, your side. Nyla shouted. He spun. A Caliph soldier had flanked them, weapon aimed right at his head. No time to dodge. Taehan threw himself forward instead of back, surprising the attacker. He grabbed the weapon, twisted it away, and struck with his baton. The Caliph went down, but not before firing. The blast caught Taehan in the shoulder. Pain exploded through his arm. You are hit. Nyla grabbed him as he stumbled. Flesh wound, Taehan lead. It hurt like hell, but he could still move. That was what mattered. Stay behind me. Another energy blast hit his back. Taehan felt his armor crack. He fell to one knee. Blood ran hot down his back. Not good. Definitely not good. His vision blurred for a moment. Taehan. Nyla's voice seemed far away. Please, you need to retreat. You are bleeding too much. Not yet. He forced himself to stand. Every movement brought new pain, but he pushed through it. Humans were stubborn. Humans endured. That was what they did best. Not until you are safe. He fired his weapon again, taking down another attacker. His hands were shaking now. His body was telling him to stop, to rest, to give in. But his mind refused. He had promised to protect the princess. He had promised to stand with her. So he stood. Even when another blast hit his leg. Even when he could barely see straight. He kept firing, kept moving, kept fighting. The attackers seemed confused. Why would this small human not fall? They had hit him multiple times. He should be dead. But Taehan was human. And humans did not know when to quit. Princess Nyla stood beside him then. She raised her hands and light burst from her palms. Taehan had not known she could do that. The light formed a shield around them both. Energy blasts hit the shield and bounced away. If you will not retreat, "Then I fight too," she said firmly. "We stand together." Her light gave the Varan guards hope. They rallied, pushing back harder. The tide of battle began to turn. And then reinforcements finally broke through. Fresh guards poured into the hall, overwhelming the remaining attackers. Within minutes, it was over. The Caliph conspirators were dead or captured. The hall was a mess of scorch marks and debris. Several delegates were wounded, but alive. The treaty had survived. Tehan finally let himself fall. He had nothing left. His body had given everything it had. Nyla caught him, lowering him gently to the ground. "You kept your promise," she said, and he could see tears in her purple eyes. "You stood with me, even when it meant dying." "Not dead yet," Tehan whispered. "Humans are hard to kill." Healers rushed to him. He heard High One's voice, sharp with worry. Heard Commander Rin barking orders. Felt hands lifting him carefully. But mostly he felt tired. So very tired. His last thought before darkness took him again was that he hoped he had done enough. Hoped he had shown the galaxy that humans were not primitive or weak. That when it mattered most, humans would stand and fight for what was right, no matter the cost. Then, everything went black. Tehan woke to sunlight. Real sunlight, not the artificial glow of the palace. He blinked and turned his head. He was in a different room this time. Smaller, simpler. Windows showed gardens outside where strange alien birds flew between glowing trees. Welcome back to the living. A1 sat in a chair beside his bed, reading from a datapad. "You have been asleep for 4 days this time. The healers said you pushed your body past all reasonable limits. Multiple energy burns, a cracked spine, severe blood loss. You should be dead. Again. But I am not," Tehan said. His voice was rough. "Again." A1 smiled. "Stubborn human biology for the win. The Varan doctors are completely baffled. They want to study you more, but the princess told them to leave you alone. She has been here every day, sitting where I am now, watching you heal." Tehan felt warmth that had nothing to do with the sunlight. "Is she all right?" "She is perfect. Not a scratch on her, thanks to you. The treaty was signed yesterday. All the major species agreed, even after the attack. Actually, especially after the attack. Seeing the Caliph conspirators exposed made everyone realize how important peace really is." A1 leaned forward. "You are a hero, Tehan. Not just to the Varan, but to the entire galactic community. A human who stood against overwhelming odds to protect an alien princess and save a peace treaty. The story is spreading across hundreds of worlds." "I just did what anyone would do," Tehan protested. "That is where you are wrong." The new voice made them both turn. Chief Advisor Vex stood in the doorway. He looked different than before. Less cold, less arrogant. Most beings would have run when faced with such danger. Most would have prioritized their own survival. You did not. You stood when standing meant almost certain death. You fought when you could barely stand. You showed us something we had forgotten. Vex walked closer and did something Tehan never expected. He bowed, deeply. "I was wrong about humans. About you. I let old prejudices cloud my judgment. I apologize. Tehan of Earth, you have more honor in your small frame than many Varan I have known in my long life." Tehan did not know what to say. Before he could respond, Vex left as quietly as he had come. "Wow," A1 said. "I never thought I would see that. Vex does not apologize to anyone. You really have changed things here." Over the next week, Tehan recovered slowly. His body healed itself again, faster than any Varan could explain. He walked through the gardens, exercised to rebuild his strength, and thought about the future. Princess Nyla found him by a fountain one evening. The water floated upward in spirals, catching the last light of the setting sun. "You are thinking about leaving," she said. It was not a question. "The life debt is fulfilled," Taehyun replied. "More than fulfilled. I should go back to my job. Back to my life, should you?" Nyla sat on a bench near the fountain. "Or do you feel obligated to?" "There's a difference." Taehyun sat beside her. "What do you want me to do?" "I want to offer you a position. The first human to serve in the Varan Imperial Guard, not as a token or a symbol, but as a true member. Commander Rin specifically requested it. He says the guards you trained performed better than any in recent history. He wants you to help rebuild our security forces with both Varan technology and human tactics." Taehyun stared at her. "That is..." I do not know what to say. "You do not have to decide now. Think about it. But know this." Nyla's purple eyes met his. "You have shown my people that humans are not primitive. You have shown the galaxy that humanity deserves respect. One person can make a difference, Taehyun. You already have. But imagine what you could do with more time, more influence." She stood and placed a hand on his shoulder. "Whatever you choose, you will always have a friend in the Varan Empire. And personally, you will always have a friend in me." She left him there with his thoughts and the floating fountain. Taehyun did not sleep well that night. He thought about Earth, about his mother and his small apartment, about his job checking security systems on a boring station. Simple, safe, predictable. Then he thought about the past weeks. The challenges, the purpose, the feeling that he was doing something important, something that mattered beyond just himself. In the morning, he found Hae-won drinking tea in the palace garden. "I am staying," he told her. She smiled like she had expected this. "Good. Humanity needs people like you out here. Showing them what we can be. Building bridges. Will you help me?" "I do not know much about galactic politics or diplomacy." "Of course. That is what friends do." She poured him tea. "Your mother called yesterday. She saw the news reports about the attack. She wanted me to tell you she is proud of you. Also that you should call more often." Taehyun laughed. "That sounds like her." The official ceremony happened 3 days later. The entire Varan High Court gathered. Representatives from the other treaty species attended. Even a few Earth diplomats came through long-distance communication. Princess Nyla stood before Taehyun in her full royal regalia. "Kang Taehyun of Earth, you saved my life at risk of your own. You showed courage when others showed fear. You stood when standing meant almost certain death. By the ancient laws of the Varan Empire, the life debt is fulfilled and paid. You are free to return to your people with our gratitude and honor." She paused, and her serious expression softened into a smile. "But it is my hope, and the hope of this court, that you will choose to stay, to serve as the first human member of the Varan Imperial Guard, to be a bridge between our peoples, to show the galaxy that humans in Varan can work together, can learn from each other, can build something new." Taehyun stepped forward. His voice was clear and strong. "I accept, Your Highness. With honor and with purpose, I accept." The court erupted in applause. Even Vex was clapping, a small smile on his usually stern face. Commander Rin came forward and placed a ceremonial sash across Taehyun's chest. The mark of the Imperial Guard, in colors that blended human blue with Varan silver. After the ceremony, Taehyun and Nyla stood on a balcony overlooking Varan Prime. The city spread below them, glowing with bioluminescent buildings and floating gardens. Above, 3 moons rose in the purple sky. "Are you sure about this?" Nyla asked quietly. "You are giving up your old life." "I am starting a new one," Taehyun replied. "A better one. You said one person can make a difference. I want to be that person." I want to show the galaxy that humans are not just warriors or survivors. We are also protectors. We are also friends. We are also capable of sacrifice for others." Nyla smiled. "Then welcome, Taehyun. Welcome to your new life. Your new purpose." They stood together as the moons rose higher, Human and Varan, standing together as equals. Below them, the city glowed with possibility. Above them, the stars beckoned with 1,000 new adventures. Taehyun thought about the words he had lived by during the battle. Humans did not know when to quit. But that was not quite right. Humans knew exactly when to quit. They just chose not to. Not when something mattered. Not when someone needed them. Not when there was still hope. That was what made humanity special. Not their weapons. Not their ships. Not their technology. It was their willingness to stand for others, to sacrifice for strangers, to refuse to give up even when giving up made perfect sense. The galaxy had judged humans by their wars and their conflicts. They thought humans were violent and dangerous. Maybe they were right, but they had missed the other side. Humans were also loyal, compassionate, stubborn in defense of those who could not defend themselves. One human had shown them that. And in time, others would follow, building bridges, making friends, earning respect not through demands but through actions. Taehyun smiled as the wind from the alien world blew through his hair. His journey had started with a simple act of courage. Now it continued with a choice. The choice to stay, to teach, to learn, to be the bridge between worlds. And somewhere on distant Earth, his mother watched the news feeds and cried proud tears for her son. The boy who had always been brave. The man who had become a hero. The human who had shown the galaxy what humanity could be. The future was uncertain, but it was also bright with possibility. And Taehyun was ready for it all.